go live. I'm doing some KFCing tonight, so
Ooh, nice.
yep. Right, let's get live. Let's see who comes on. I'm going to see if I can get some the regulars back. Regulars, Tan Man, I think it's, and what was it? It was Tan Man and another. Anyway, a
We're on.
good evening, even
You ain't got time for
TikTokers.
this,
Thank you.
Jose. We're live already, cutting you off. We're on
Really?
TikTok. We're also on YouTube, so it's time to say hello, Inspiration Nation. That was terrible, wasn't it? Should we do that again? If you're watching the live YouTube, you've got to hear all this nonsense. Inspiration Nation, hello. Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. Both Jose Noya, Ryan Boniface back with us again. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Yeah, really good, Lee. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Jose, as you're saying, it is live on TikTok. Thank you for those that are joining there. Live on YouTube as well. Those on YouTube will hear all the ramble at the start because we don't edit it off. So that's a little bonus treat for you. If you want to see all of that nonsense, Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation, stick it in your Google machine. You can get the links to all those sites, follow, subscribe, etc., etc. Right, so last week, Jose, we talked about your one word, as in Evan Carmichael's Your One Word. And to those who might not know, Jose's word is inspiration. We talked about that a bit, how he gets the word, gave some advice for, I'm going to forget his name again, your friend who I'm very proud of that wears our t-shirt to the gym. What's his name?
Freddie.
Freddie. Some advice for
Freddie.
Freddie. Thank you,
Shout out
Freddie.
to Freddie.
I
Cheers,
forget
man.
everyone's name. It's not personal. I'm just got a terrible memory for that sort of thing. But then I kind of reflected that before I'd have kind of, maybe if it was innovation might be the word. And I feel like that's kind of something that's important to me, but it wasn't quite hitting the right spot. And we said, maybe I need to reboot, have a look at what it is, etc., etc. And then there's a quote I hear from someone who says quite often a lot that there are no coincidences. He actually says coincidences in his. There are no coincidences, just convergences. And I feel like I had one of those moments on the following day. So it was last Wednesday that we had this podcast, and I'm a bit like, oh, maybe I need to do a bit of a revisit and just kind of align my path and check what I'm doing, etc. I then went to a conference, which was opened by a keynote speaker by the name of Diane Kander. You can Google her. She's the author of a book titled The Curiosity Muscle, amongst other books. And she gave an absolutely fantastic talk about innovation and what causes innovation and what's behind it. And it boiled down to, or not boiled down to, there's a lot of talk on it, and I'll get to some other bits in a moment. But what she was talking about is the important thing is curiosity. And I don't know if you remember, Jose, but when we were talking, I said that I'm very curious to find out what my direction is and my one word is. And you went, oh, curious, I really like that, etc., etc., etc. I didn't think at the time, but then the curious came up again, and this was her book. Her book is The Curiosity Muscle, and that, that's what us being curious is what drives this sort of. And I'm like, this is just perfect timing for this sort of conversation. Because I think that is what I am. I'm, as you guys know, obviously we do a lot of talk offline about stuff as well. I've talked about it on here, but I've dabbled a lot with AI and how that can work, and that's led to a few various things. Obviously, we do this podcast together. I have umpteen other different interests. I do a number of things in my professional life, but all of it, I think, is because I'm curious. If something gets my interest, I'm like, oh, I wonder why. I wonder. That's my thing, and that's kind of what leads me to either, oh, that's an answer to a problem, or I found something that needs fixing, or, oh, I really like this, I'm going to look at this more. It's because I dig. If I hear something that interests me, I'll Google it, I'll read about it, I'll ask other people about it. I think I am a curious being. I think that's me. So we'll do our talk, Jose, like we said offline, where we do a bit more thing on this, but it really spoke to me at like the most opportune moment to hear that type of conversation.
Oh, I love that. Go on, you carry on.
It just could not have been more perfect. So I'll give a bit more in a wider talk because there was loads of good stuff in there. She asked, she had to put up on the screen, the number one thing that kills innovation is insert word, people threw out a few words and got braver and threw out a few more words, etc., etc. Me, with my true introvert self at heart, sat there thinking loads of words in my head but not saying them, and then feeling pleased when someone else said the word I was going to say, because then I didn't have to. Do you know what the word is? What is the number one thing that kills innovation? I'll give you both one guess, and you will get one inspiration point if you get it right.
Is it just one word, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, I've got two.
I love how
Can't-
disappointed you are.
What was the question again?
It's a statement.
What is the?
And the thing that kills, or this might not be exactly, but it works the same way. The number one thing that kills innovation, or the number one thing that hampers innovation or stops innovation is, we'll go with stops. The number one thing that stops innovation is, insert word here.
Procrastination.
What stops innovation? And it's one word, right? You just said one word.
Yeah. Half an hour we try and keep these podcasts.
I know.
Hang on, I'm going to throw.
He's
I'm gonna
taking
just
it
throw
so
what I was thinking.
seriously. So seriously. You got
Stops
4
curiosity.
seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds.
I know.
1
I'm going to
second.
say 2 words. I know that. That's 3 words. I know that. That's on point. I know that.
Okay. You both have 0 inspiration points. The
Ah.
word is success. Because
okay.
when something's working, you don't try and make it better.
Is it because it's like we say, oh, because success is success, we say, oh, we've always done it that way, something like that? I don't
That
understand
ties
why.
into it. That's the part they've always done it. But it's,
Right.
if something's working,
Okay.
let's not
Yeah.
absolutely. And she then said,
Yeah.
you know, building
Yeah.
on that is when people then look to improve something, they take what's already there and will tweak
Yeah.
it and will dabble with it and will do this and will do it. Whereas she's saying you just got a blank page everything. Don't matter what you do now, what are you trying to do and what's the best way. That's how you innovate, that's how you reinvent the wheel, that's how you create new things, by not getting hampered down by what you currently do. And then she gave a great talk about, she used Amazon as an example, and there's 2 really good examples. My second favourite is the Amazon. And she got up picture of Jeff Bezos, second richest man in the world, etc., etc. And then she listed off something like 10 to 15 Amazon companies that are all dead and got stopped, and they stopped doing them because it wasn't working. Okay. And she made a great joke about, God, what, you know, he's the richest loser in the world. Because there's stuff that I still thought they did. So do you remember those little dash buttons where you could press a button, it would just order something for you? They don't exist anymore, apparently. I can see why, because they're a terrible idea if your kids got hold of them and you've got 10,000 loo rolls turned up at your door.
Oh.
Amazon, there were physical Amazon stores where you could click and collect. That's dead. Doesn't exist anymore. It didn't. And then a load of other things I'd never even heard of that were all sunsetted and don't exist anymore.
Yeah, didn't they do? Didn't Amazon have the supermarket where you didn't pay,
Yes.
but it charged your account when you walked out?
That's it,
dead
exactly.
as well, right?
Yes, completely, yes. And I didn't know, I'd heard of that, and the other thing, some of these I thought were still there. So there was basically there's competitor to everything. So they used to have a music service, doesn't exist anymore, web hosting stuff of some niche, done things. It's loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads. They had a clothing line apparently as well. Never knew that. But yeah, lots of stuff that doesn't exist anymore. But what
Music, they still do music.
Yeah,
Amazon
but what?
Music,
So I've subscribed. There's Amazon Music, but what they created was a service where you can store all your digital music, no matter where it comes from. It's actually a pretty good idea, but dead. Yeah. And actually, it turns out that some of these things that were sunset actually made money. They were successful in their own right, but by taking the resources that were working on it and putting in something else, they could work on something even more successful. And she did a bit of a ratio graph. We've talked similar things before of this, where it's like, what's the effort and reward against activities that you do? And actually, anything, there's like a line in the middle she did on her graph, where everything above it you should do, everything below it, where the effort is high and the reward is low, bin it off. Just get rid of it. That's where you're wasting your time. Get on to the big stuff, and that fed into the Jeff Bezos example, which I really liked. It was really good kind of food for thought on innovation and looking at things and not being afraid to be different, etc. And then the last example she gave, her talk was much better than this, by the way. This is my rambled, I've just finished work example of this.
Don't put yourself down.
She put up a picture of Snoop Dogg That's a rapper from the 90s, Joe, just so you know, and early 2000s.
I do know Snoop Dogg. Yes,
You're aware of the Snoop, are you?
I am.
Would you feel better if I
The
called him
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Doggy Dog? Would you feel better with that? Anyway, she started to
Should I
list
just ignore
off.
that? I'm just wondering.
She started to list off all of his current business interests, which I knew some bit. They are staggering what he's involved in. Absolutely staggering. For all the different, like there's like an energy drink, but everyone has an energy drink now. There's some legalized marijuana things he's involved with. This property empire that is outstanding that he's got, and a load of other things like he invests in sports teams and that sort of stuff, and all really successful businesses that he's invested in or started, or a mixture of the two. And he put up a video of him being interviewed because he was going to purchase a hockey team in America, and they were talking about what it was going to be. And he was talking in this interview. They were talking about his plans with it, and he said, "So it's all about branding. I want to buy this team, and I just want to rebrand the whole thing from the ground up." And he says, "Look, they've done it in basketball," and he listed off a couple of teams that rebranded and actually put a whole new emphasis on the league as a whole. The same in baseball, and he wanted to do this for hockey. Just and he started talking about all the opportunities in merchandising and marketing and international and all that sort of stuff. And then she kind of paused and said, "This is his business acumen for this was huge. This wasn't a hockey team; it was a business opportunity to market this whole league worldwide and what they're doing." I said, this the way he thinks about it was just clean. Someone could buy that team and go in and be like, "Oh, we want to increase ticket sales by 10% and concessions by 5." That wasn't even on his brain. This was big blank slate thinking. The comparison was they then put up a picture of Vanilla Ice, who I assume is more in your playlist, Jose. There we go.
Dun, 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 dun,
And
dun. I better not copyright, won't we?
they were then saying, "What's he doing now?" And they put up, and he's headlining a 90s tour of musical acts in the 90s. And that's about it. And they put up a podcast where he's like, "It's just the 90s is the best. The 90s was the best thing ever till computers came along and ruined everything." And she's paused it there and she's like, one person's relevance in the world now compared to the others there. And it's the mentality. One is 90s was the best time for me. That's when everything was great. That's when I loved, that was when I had my best success. So I'm just going to keep living in that moment. Snoop Dogg, reinvent. What's new? What's out? Oh, that was it. NFTs. He sold $44 million worth of NFTs. NFTs are trash. Absolute trash now. And he made 44 million because he got in at the moment when it was
early stage.
And it's new things. What's going on? What can I do? How can I leverage this? He's just always trying new things. It's not like he's gone from NFTs into a different type of digital media, into another type of digital media. He's all over the show with everything, and just that curiosity muscle. What about this? What about this? What can I do with this? How big can I make this? What opportunities are there here? And that's, I say, it really, as you can tell, it really an absolute point where the evening before we've been having this conversation, it just really spoke to me about that kind of mental. So it still comes back to being innovative, but that's almost the outcome of being curious and being brave and being unafraid. And that's just what I'm going to make sure I lean into more and be conscious of in what I'm doing. But I say, I was sitting there and it was speaking back to me. And what I was going to say to you, Jose, is with Diana, I'm like, I found my Evan Carmichael. This is her. I get it. The mentality just spoke to me so much.
Yeah, I really get that. And it's really interesting you said the curiosity, and then you said something that you talk about, unafraid. He's got attaching to your curious.
Well, it's that letting go of the success, because it's so easy to sit on your success, isn't it? And you've got to be like, great, but what could be better? What could I do here?
Yeah.
What's different? And actually, this is absolute SHIT. Boom, it's off. What's next? And actually, I've got a little outside project I'm working on something, and I've got a few different ideas of where to go with it. And I've actually taken a whole chunk of it now and been like, the effort here against the reward potential against this bit, where the effort versus reward potential is up here, and I'm now focusing on that bit and really engaging my time down on that.
So the essence is it's the minimum effort for maximum reward. Is that the ethos?
Not not necessarily. Certainly not, because I think that drives a different behaviour. But it's if you've got 10 things if you've got 10 things on the go, what are the 5 that give you the biggest reward against your effort?
So it's not the minute. It's what are the steps that are going to give you the biggest reward? Because
it might be huge effort for huge reward,
easy steps,
as opposed
the hardest.
to it could be huge effort for huge reward as opposed to huge effort for minimal reward.
Yeah, so it's actually the effort's huge, but if the reward's minimal, then bin it. If it's a huge effort, but the reward's gigantic, it's huge and gigantic, you should follow that path.
Look at those things that are sucking your time and not getting it. Alexa's, so this example to you. So there was a Amazon mobile phone. They created a mobile phone, had lots of stuff to do with it, and they binned off the phone because it wasn't working. But one of the things that they built for their phone was the voice recognition, which was Alexa. So they were struggling with the phone. So they took the whole team that were working on the phone and put them all on Alexa. Bin off the phone, take out that bit that's really good and unique and is working, and let's focus on making that as good as possible and getting it wherever we can. So again, it's that refocusing.
Have you told that story before? I just got a funny deja vu.
Not the Alexa one, I don't think. I hadn't heard that before.
Something like that, wasn't it? You said before, I'm sure, about that, and they bin something off and then they use something or other. Anyway, I don't know. That's sort of deja vu moment, but I really love that. Yeah, I love that.
So it's a really good. Say this is, you can't argue with the success of Amazon, can you? And this is one of the techniques they employ. So it's great.
I'm just thinking of other six. Yeah, go on.
No, you go. I was just going to say, and it might not be. It might be that half of what I've said speaks to you and half doesn't, and take that half and don't worry about the other half. As I always say, I'm a bit of a buffet bit on taking things, but this just felt like this was a real amalgamation of different things I've seen over the years that spoke to me, all balled up into one thing.
Yeah, and
whose
curiosity.
talk I have now completely plagiarised and turned into a podcast episode.
Yeah, it was great. I love it. I just really love it. It's just, for me, I've written a couple of things down actually. I think first of all was like reflect on the unafraid bit with that curiosity bit. I think that's what I heard from you, which is interesting. You just got to go for those big things, but look at the reward. Look at the reward. What is it? Maximising that. I'm trying to just assimilate what you're telling, so I can do some learning, which I love. And I've just drawn a couple of links between the things that I've read. And when you said about the curiosity and actually focusing on the things that you're great at, some people, you said Amazon were doing this and Amazon were doing that. And in the Good to Great book by Jim Collins, he talks about you've got to dial into the thing that that you are, focus on the one things rather than multiple things. And it almost like, what is the one thing that you're great at? Just dial into that and really make that great, rather than doing all these small things that still could make money, but they're not really moving the ball forward that much. And that's what Good to Great talks about. So there's some really good links here between the things that I've read and the things that you've said. And again, the curiosity thing, which I really loved as well, was coaching's all about curiosity. When you ask questions, I'm curious, talk to me more about that. So coaching's all about being curious about the person being coaches. I'm curious, then they get curious. So curiosity is that thing, exploring new ideas, new ways of maybe attacking something. But maybe the sort of the nitrous in your idea, or it's not an idea, it actually works. It's not an idea. It's actually the practicality of it is just think about when you do that really big thing, what is the reward? Is it big enough for you to invest that amount of time? If not, drop it and just focus on it. It's more like focusing your energy into your strengths.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like when I'm thinking about when I try and look at my things, like doing the video, just do video. But if I start doing it, that's not my strength. I'm just not good at that. It's not a thing that lights me up. So just keep diving into that, comms, communication, dive into that, connecting with people, just dive into that. So I get this because that's going to be the biggest reward. And actually, it's interesting you saying that because, there's things I used to dive into a lot that I used to do lots of, like the editing, I don't really like that. So I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I'm going to spend my time doing the thing that does interest, the good give me the maximum return on the things that I do, my time, essentially, right? I
Yes.
love this, Lee. It's really made me think, actually. I really love this because I think it's really bringing it home and to everyone in our audience as well. I think that's really powerful, recognizing your strengths and going all in and maximizing that to get your maximum return, and not trying to spread yourself too thinly. Like, what is the thing that really is, you know, the value add, or is it value add? I'm trying to think. Yeah, value add. Yeah, value add. Or
It is.
yeah,
The way Dana referred to him in the talk was zombies. She said you've got to kill your
Ooh.
zombies, and anything that's
love that.
below that line where it's giving you the smaller return for your effort is your zombie, and you've got to kill it off because it's just sucking your time.
Oh, I love that. Kill your zombies. Oh, I love that. Because you can easily walk to that, can't you? You can sort of just, oh, I'll just do a bit of this and I'll just do a bit of that. And before you know it, your time is so thinly spread that you're just not really maximizing anything, are you? So I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of value in that. I think we can all do that. I can definitely, I think, yeah, and I'm trying to think, okay, is there anything else I do that I could maximize, especially in the role that I do? Because I really don't like doing spreadsheets either, but I have to do them. But is there anything we can do around that? Do we? Anyway, I'm just thinking. I'm just making me think really on the fly, and we haven't got time for it. But I love this idea. It's really good. This is why I love this podcast, because I'm learning this stuff, and it's something I haven't heard. And innovation, I think it adds another layer to innovation that I never really thought of. I know it's about friction and discussion, but this is really like an accelerant, isn't it? Like nitrous to the idea. That's what I think, anyway. But yeah, anyway, I've been speaking a lot there. I just loved what you said, Lee. I'm inspired by it. And actually seeing you speak, I could tell that it was that your hands were going and you're really excited. Like, you're like, oh, I found the thing. Like, you found the thing.
I just can't believe it was like 12 hours after we've been talking, and it's
yeah.
it's
and then the
there.
word curiosity. Yeah, it's almost like that Steve Jobs in Connect the Dots Backwards. Like, what's this? And you're seeing this connection. It's cool. It's powerful.
And I actually did,
Love
because
this.
there's quite a few people I knew at this thing from different places. So as I bumped into them, I kind of said, "Oh, what did you think of the thing?" And there's always a bit. I think it's a natural thing where not everyone, but a couple of people were like, "Oh, a bit reserved." And I then said, "Oh, I really liked it because of the." And they were like, "Oh, actually," and then suddenly they were in, and it's almost like I'd given them permission to buy into it in a way, if you like. So it spoke to a lot of people that were there.
Well, I think also, Lee, because it really speaks to you, and then you went unafraid to actually say, well, I think this is like great. You almost like give permission and give them almost like a door to get through their fear, to express actually how they were feeling and thinking, because that's a lot of it, isn't it? It's breaking through those barriers to actually say, well, I did like it. That's really good. And someone else is taking on. So that's giving me courage to actually embrace it. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Embracing it and actually doing it and applying it. Had a great talk, Lee, right? You've had a great talk. Now it's what's next. So how am I going to? So let's just ask the audience. Let's ask the question. So as a result of Lee's discussion, and Lee himself will take this question away, is what are you going to apply from this conversation? What's the step? And hold yourself to account and try. What is it? I think that's the key. That's the question that's gonna be my takeaway. The question. How can I and we apply this to what we do? Yeah, love that.
Good question. Right, you wouldn't know it, but Ryan's also here this week. So, Ryan, you got any thoughts on that before we wrap up?
I just think it's good to see you be so bought in and so engaged with something that obviously has resonated and somewhat means a lot to you. I'm not sure that's the right way to phrase it, but you know what I mean.
No, absolutely. Yes.
But I think the content as well is that we, if people spend their lives in jobs and or self-employed or working for somebody or doing what they do, and I think there's a lot of people that are a lot of the time don't want to be there, and I think there's also a message in there that jump and self-develop that way as well, rather than it being projects around things that you do. You can do that. You can do this. You can apply the same principle to yourself, like rather than investing what you think is your solid time into a company or to an employer or to a role that you don't particularly like. You can better focus your time and your intentions on things that give you a better reward. Whether that be something you start as a hobby that then becomes a job, or whether that is a job that you then just jump at straight away, is
Yeah, and
is
it's all part of that.
neither
As
here
people
nor there.
say, work-life balance is obviously a hot topic thing at the moment. And is there something that actually spending an hour a day or an hour a week, whatever it is, on something, just gives you a bit
It's
of
better than
extra
nothing.
fulfillment than not, or doing something different?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. And you said it's a big lot of you type. Could be, the Amazon example is resources as a business, but I think as an individual, and you said it, Joe, it's your time. You're spending your time, and what are you getting out of that? And that's not always financial. It's what are you getting for yourself out of that in your kind of fulfillment bucket.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, definitely love that. I just want to give a shout out to, I think it's Hammer on I don't know, it's like a symbol of a hammer. No, it's not called Hammer, but I'm going to say thank you so much.
Thor,
for
thank you for joining.
liking the live. Yep, and thanks there as well. Yeah, so Hammer's like the live, put 1K likes into the live, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining. I really, really do appreciate you joining. Anyway, so I just want to give a shout out to some people.
No, that's good. We better
Loads of
wrap
people.
up quickly now. We are running out of time. We appreciate everyone joining. Again, Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation, like, subscribe, etc. And inspirationnation.org.uk for everything to do as well. And follow us on Twitter at ListenToIN, listen TOIN. And very quickly, I'll say we'll be back again next week. So I'll count us down. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Inspiration Nation.
Catch you guys later.
Catch you guys later.
Later. Brilliant. Thank you, TikTokers. Thank